This episode contains strong language. Listener discretion is advised. The last couple of years have been historical for women in the military. Across the different branches, women have become part of combat jobs, integrated into co-ed basic training, and women leaders have taken on new levels of responsibility and authority previously held only by men. But women have also found themselves at the center of a controversial Army PT test. The role in the armed services brought into question by television pundits, and in the wake of Vanessa Guillen's death, women have become the central figures in the military's challenge to address sexual harassment and sexual assault. In this episode, we explore those efforts by the DoD and what the Fort Hood Independent Review says about the effectiveness of those efforts. I talk with Facebook celebrity and Army Sergeant First Class Aston Muse about the video she made in response to a Marine TikTok video and how she feels about the state of our military's sexual assault and response readiness. Then Jack Murphy takes us into the nightmare of one service member's own sexual assault and the bizarre story that unfolded from it. I'm Rod Rodriguez.
I'm Jack Murphy.
This is Military Matters. This episode of Military Matters is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal puts members first by helping them save money, make money, and enjoy peace of mind and security through personalized around-the-clock service. On average, Navy Federal members earn and save $361 more per year. You can pay no fees, get low rates, and rate discounts, plus earn cash back and grow your savings. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. On February 18th, a female Marine posted a TikTok video that would elicit a lot of emotion and get the attention of the military and civilian population alike.
This morning I posted a fucking TikTok about how fucking unfair it is that I've dedicated my life to the military and the Marine Corps and everything that I've done, and that I was able to see my fucking perpetrator in court, and how much it fucking sucked that he was being forced out of the military, that he would be getting an honorable discharge. Well, not even fucking 10 minutes ago, I just got word that this motherfucker will be getting retained because it went all the way up across the board. Everybody said that they would not retain him. And the fucking head honcho, the fucking CG, with all of the proof and a fucking admission to guilt, decided that they will retain him. And this is exactly why fucking females in the military fucking kill themselves. This is exactly why nobody fucking takes us seriously. Yo, what the fuck?
That video was brought to the attention of U.S. Army Sergeant First Class Aston Muse.
My dad actually sent me the video. He was like, hey, watch this.
If her voice seems familiar, it might be because you've probably seen her Drill Sergeant Muse videos on Facebook and YouTube. As an active duty senior NCO and social media personality, Sergeant Muse understands firsthand the impact social media can have, especially when it comes to something as serious as talking out your sexual harassment case on TikTok. So when she saw this Marine's video, there was a lot that ran through her mind.
Is she going for attention, or is this something this is something real? Okay. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, wait, no, that doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense whatsoever, because why would they say he could stay in when his entire chain of command said that he needed to get out? And I actually went to the Marine Times. I was like, well, let me read it, because maybe she's angry and she's got something else going, and it could be something else.
The Marine in the video has since made a public statement through protectourdefenders.com and has identified herself only as Delina. She states that the situation she was talking about in her TikTok video had to do with a sexual misconduct incident in October of 2019. She alleges a former uniformed victim advocate, the very person Marines and sailors should turn to in reporting sexual assault and harassment, was her perpetrator.
All right, so nothing on sexual assault. It's photos.
According to Captain Angelica Sposado, a spokeswoman for the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force, the Marine in question was found guilty of violating Article 117 Alpha of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, transferring personal information from Delina's cell phone to his own device. The article prohibits showing or distributing an intimate or sexually explicit image of another person who is identifiable and did not consent to the image being shown or distributed. The Marine Corps said the Marine had transferred the image from Delina's phone to his phone and distributed them. The Marine received non-judicial punishment, a rank reduction, and a loss of pay. Delina goes on to state that she testified at her perpetrator separation board, but that numerous Marine leaders came forward with letters of recommendation citing the Marine as a hard worker and they had, quote, made a mistake and fallen into temptation. Despite the endorsements, the Marine was, quote, forced out. But then Delina gets word on the same day of the video that a commanding general overturned the ruling and her perpetrator would be retained. The military has a no-tolerance policy, which was echoed by the Defense Department's director of the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Office, Army General Clement S. Coward, who said, quote, it simply must not happen in the profession of arms. Zero tolerance. However, if it does happen, we want everyone to pick the reporting option that is right for them and get the help they need.
That's not supposed to be accepted in the military. You keep saying zero tolerance, and I don't think you know what that means. Like, it's just crazy to me.
The Marine TikTok video gained a lot of attention, and other social media personalities like Sergeant Muse chimed in with their support and criticism of the decision to retain the Marine. Others, though, were less supportive and more critical of the Marine in the TikTok video, whose username is GWattThought. Thought being a slang term for that hoe over there. Critics of the video, mostly anonymous on message boards and forums such as Reddit, have argued that the Marine wasn't professional to begin with, that her username and provocative video content almost negated her outrage, and that making her case public on social media in uniform was further proof of that. A lot of those comments came dangerously close to saying she had it coming. I asked Sergeant Muse whether or not the Marine's username or content should play a role in what her perpetrator had done.
It shouldn't affect it at all. As far as, maybe you having like a personal brand or something online, and then, what you actually do. Like I'm a Muse, right? That's my brand. I've built it like since 2016. That's been who I am online. But you better believe when I'm at work, there is no, I might laugh and joke, ha, 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 ha. But when it's time to get serious, you're going to catch a whole nother level. Like, it's not drill sergeant Muse, it's actual Sergeant First Class Muse telling you, hey, you need to get your shit together. I don't know what you're doing, but this is not it. Or, hey, we got to be here at this time. Like, get everything lined up, get your ducks in a row because I don't play. Online, it's, oh, ha, 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 ha. So if you choose to look at me like that through that lens on the professional side, you're going to get fucked up. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So because she chose or is choosing to do her sexy, whatever it is that she's doing on the side, and then, her doing whatever she did with this guy, and then this guy going and sharing it, which is considered porn because he shared it. Like once you do something like that, that shouldn't have anything to do with how they view her going forward as far as like professionalism. Of course, we know it is because you're gonna have them guys in the back like, yeah, so did you see them videos or photos or whatever the fuck it was? Yeah, I saw them, There are gonna be comments made, there are gonna be little side snips and bits made, no one is gonna look at her the same. Anyone that's seen it, they're not gonna look at her the same because I can almost guarantee you whatever he shared is probably not the same as what she's putting on posts.
Suppose I put up a picture of myself on Facebook wearing swimming trunks at the beach and suddenly people in my unit are sharing it. Perhaps they're making fun of my body or purposely trying to hurt my feelings or degrade me. There's a point where even the most thick-skinned person has to say enough is enough. This is now harassment. The sexual element to that scenario makes it even worse. So even if the Marine had publicly provocative pictures, it doesn't give other Marines the right to harass her with or because of those pictures, much less the unit's victim advocate. And since the UCMJ article that the perpetrator was found guilty of states that images were shared without the victim's consent, and Delina herself alleges the pictures were photographed from her phone, it's very unlikely this was about her public persona and more about a breach of privacy, again, by a victim advocate. The rate of sexual assault and harassment reporting in the military continues to climb with every new DoD annual report. The last one for fiscal year 2019 reported a 3% increase in reporting. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's happening more frequently, but that it's being reported more. On the other hand, take those numbers and put them against the Fort Hood Independent Review findings, and what you have is a different story entirely. The very first of the 9 findings from the Fort Hood report is all about the failed state and inadequacy of the Army's SHARP program, which is overseen by the Department of Defense's Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Office, or SAPRO. Each branch has its own program it runs for its service members based on the guidance and policies outlined by the DoD's SAPRO. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that what the reviewers saw at Fort Hood reflects the entire military, but considering this review was the first of its kind and the high-profile nature of Fort Hood, one of the largest military installations, it's not far-fetched to think that the problems plaguing Hood could very well be a DoD-wide problem. Some of those findings include there was a widespread lack of knowledge of basic SHARP reporting methods and the right to special victims counsel. There was universal fear, retaliation, exposure, and ostracism for reporting SHARP violations. Review and analysis of the mandated sexual assault review boards revealed an emphasis on form over substance. The SHARP program was understaffed, undertrained, and under-resourced during most of the review period. It was the prevailing view of SHARP victim advocates and sexual assault response coordinators that the SHARP program at Fort Hood was ineffective. There was a pervasive lack of confidence in the SHARP program among soldiers, and there is a relationship between the lack of confidence and underreporting SHARP violations. So in summary, quote, the end result has been a SHARP program that appeared to be compliant on the surface, but was hollow and lacking in leadership attention.
And they came out with the report. And I'm thinking, I'm going to look at this report and it's going to be like the creme de la creme. This is about to be some shit that I've never seen before. Like they have found the problem and it's going to be magically fixed. Like we have laid out everything. And I'm looking at the report and it's the same stuff that I've been seeing since 2002, like when I first came in.
One of the most startling things about the Fort Hood report as it pertains to the SHARP program shouldn't have been the findings, but the reaction from everyone that wasn't a senior leader. Over and over again, I've heard soldiers say, well, duh, I could have told you that. No one, and I mean absolutely no one, seemed surprised by the findings, except it seems the SHARP and SAPRO folks who seemed genuinely surprised and disturbed to hear that service members had little faith in the program that was supposed to protect them. The 2019 DoD Annual Report on Sexual Assault in the Military includes self-assessments by every branch on their strengths, but oddly enough seems to be missing real challenges or deficiencies. The ones that are mentioned read more like a job interview answer when asked about your weaknesses and you answer, well, I work too hard sometimes. The report as a whole provides the results of focus groups mixed with the year's statistics wrapped and could be described as a compliment sandwich beginning and ending on positives with any of the negatives tucked away neatly in the center. The question has to be asked, how does an annual report with feedback from 61 focus groups conducted with 493 active duty members and first responders held at 8 installations measures the effectiveness of a program and gets it so wrong compared to the independent perspective at just one installation? Perhaps the answer lies in the report itself that clearly states, quote, focus group results provided in the report are not generalizable to the full population of the military. Themes should be considered, the opinions of focus group participants only, and not those of all service members. The report also states several times and in bold that a sexual assault prevalence survey, a survey to determine literally how prevalent sexual assault is in the military, was neither conducted nor required by congressional mandate. Basically, we weren't required to do one, we weren't told to do one, so we didn't do one. I asked Sergeant Muse, who is herself a SHARP-trained advocate and victim of sexual harassment, what we should do about the current state of SHARP, sexual assaults, and harassment across the DoD.
You know what? You know how they can fix it? take military personnel out of it altogether. Give that shit to like a civilian entity and let them do it. Someone who's not biased, not someone who's going to come in, battle real quick. So, that soldier over there was saying that you was doing such and such. I don't know what it is that you got going on, but you need to cut that shit out before something happens. Like it's never really, like a solid thing. Take it out of the hands of the military, take it out of the hands of their battle buddies, their friends, the people they drink with on the weekend, and give it to an actual department or create one. Don't allow it to be military folk. And if you are, make sure it's someone who's going to carry that shit out. Like send them to the school, get them professionally trained on how to do it. And then, don't send them back to their unit. They know those people. Send them somewhere with folks they don't know. Maybe folks they can learn to get to know, you make your friends and whatnot. Ha, 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 ha. But when like shit goes down, hey, this is what I was told,
The issue of sexual assault and harassment reform is not new. Although the death of Vanessa Guillen brought the issue to a head, there have been organizations fighting for this type of reform since the 1980s. Women have formally served in the military since 1948, and it wasn't until 1992 that the Women's Veterans Health Program Act was passed that provided mental health care for sexual trauma survivors within the VA. That was in 92. For the last 40 years, sexual assault and harassment reform has been largely ignored in favor of programs from within the DoD and run by the DoD. The I Am Vanessa Guillen bill looks to change that with reforms to make it easier for victims to report sexual assault and harassment, as well as providing third-party investigations of military sexual misconduct claims, essentially removing commanders from having a say as to whether a sexual assault or harassment case proceeds to criminal prosecution. The bill would also make sexual harassment, which is currently just considered misconduct, a separate crime under UCMJ. Perhaps it's a start to enforcing a real zero-tolerance policy, one that's enforceable and doesn't rely on the military investigating its own. The issue of sexual assault and harassment is multidimensional and involves more than just revamping one program. It's about revamping culture. It's about changing some pretty dug-in systems. We talked about the CID issue as it pertains to the investigation process in our Fort Hood Report episode, and just recently the Provost Marshal of the U.S. Army Major General Donna Martin was grilled by Congress over what they feel are slow improvements being made to the Army CID program in the wake of the Fort Hood Report findings. Unfortunately, it would seem that our military branches share more than just military heritage and a commitment to defend the Constitution of the United States. But we also seem to share a broken system that was designed to protect both men and women alike from sexual assault and harassment. When we return from the break, Jack Murphy takes us into the real-life nightmare of a woman service member, a victim of sexual assault, and the bizarre series of events that unfolded when we return. If you're an active duty service member, veteran, DoD civilian, or military family member, you can join Navy Federal. That means if you served in any branch of the military, doesn't have to just be the Navy, could be the Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, or Coast Guard, you can join the Navy Federal Credit Union. On average, Navy Federal members earn and save $361 more per year. You could pay no fees, get low rates and rate discounts, plus earn cash back and grow your savings. Navy Federal puts members first by helping them save money, make money, and enjoy peace of mind and security through personalized around-the-clock service. Plus, now is a great time to join. Have a large credit card balance after the holidays? Let Navy Federal Credit Union help you rebalance your priorities. Make a plan to do away with high-interest credit card debt by transferring your balance to a Navy Federal credit card. With a low intro APR and no balance transfer fees, you can pick the right card to help you take back control. Visit NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. And now the fine print. Insured by NCUA. Dollar value of Navy Federal's 2019 member give back study. 5.99 to 18% variable APRs based on product type and credit worthiness. Up to $1 cash advance transaction fee at non-Navy Federal ATMs.
Growing up in a tough neighborhood in Chicago, Raven joined the Army to be a medic, but got hurt in training and had to reclass as a cook. Despite that small hiccup, she was progressing through the Army at her first duty station at Fort Bliss, Texas. The problems began for her when she was assigned to a slightly senior soldier who was to be a sort of informal mentor for her.
We had formed a friendship His wife didn't like that because he felt more comfortable talking to me about their marital problems than her. I was kind of like the outside source with a lot of different stuff. I'm a very friendly person, so I get along with everyone. And I was with my boyfriend at the time for at least about 2 years. So I wasn't really looking for anybody else. But he would make like very inappropriate comments. So when we broke up, his first response was, "Oh, now you can have fun." I'm like, "You're married. Why would you say that to me?" It was a lot of red flags in the beginning. I would get singled out a lot because I was the only female that always had to do a problem, because all the other females were like, "Oh, he's impossible to work with." And I'm like, "He's not. I'm just used to ignoring people." For me, I always felt like race played a big part in it because I'm African-American female, you're Caucasian male. And that was already kind of like a big thing because my mother always taught me to talk educated. So he would make fun of the way I talk as well. Like, "Oh, you're trying to talk white." And I'm like, I've heard that my entire life. I don't need you to belittle me because I'm smart. I graduated high school with honors. I went off to college. I dropped out of college due to financial reasons, not because I couldn't make it successfully. For someone that literally graduated high school barely and then joined the military, that always was a big thing. I more so feel like he used to try to bully me in a sense, but I am impossible to bully. And then as time went on, he had like an infatuation with me. And it got to the point like not only I noticed it, but a lot of coworkers noticed it. Other people that weren't even in our section noticed it because we're cooks. Why are you bringing me McDonald's and we work in a kitchen?
And things only escalated from there.
Hiking. I had never been hiking a day in my life. I grew up in the city. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can do that. And then we were on this mountain and it was just like kind of like a confession type of thing. And I was just like, well, if you're having problems in your marriage, don't include me in it. I was like, I respect your wife and your marriage, even if you don't. And that was like the first thing. So I remember I came home and I called my best friend who was stationed in Louisiana. I was like, "Bro, he just tried to kiss me on a mountain. I really don't like this." And she was like, "Maybe you should tell this person or tell that person." I'm like, "Bro, it's nothing." Because at the time, I didn't think nothing of it. I'm like, I didn't even let anything happen at that time. Anytime we had a field problem, he would, it got to the point I would have like other guys in our unit sleep by my truck because a lot of times I was the only female in the field. So I'm like, I'm going to sleep in the bed of the truck if y'all going to sleep in the back. And I don't want no one coming in my truck. I shouldn't have to feel like I have to lock my truck at night.
Meanwhile, the soldier did things to intentionally make his wife jealous, according to Raven.
It was always something, like always. Even it got to the point one time she walked up directly to me at work and was like, "Are you still sleeping with my husband?" And the reason I remember is because it was like 6 a.m. and I was cutting up cake. And I literally looked at her. I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No." And then she was like, "I think you're lying." I was like, "Okay, go ask him." And then she like walked away stomping. It was always something. It was more so like a jealousy thing with her. And I really felt like a lot of it was he say, she say. But I didn't act like that. Even though I was young, I've never acted like that. And I was just like, I don't even like him like that. I really don't.
Raven says it was right about that time that he sexually assaulted her.
I used to have a very big issue with waking up for work. So he would always call and wake me up to make sure I would be awake.
In the barracks.
Yes, correct. This particular time, I was woken up completely out of my sleep to him saying, "Hey, I'm at the light." I didn't know what time it was until I got up. It was like 2 a.m. And when he got there, I was like, "Why are you here this early? Like, I don't have to be at work for like 3 hours. Like, that doesn't even make sense. I'm going back to sleep," which I did. So I woke up to someone over me. And like, when I realized what was happening, I pushed him with my other leg and he made a very uncomfortable joke and was like, "Oh, if you're strong enough to push me, why can't you pass your PT test?" And I'm like, what? I was late to work that day. It was a lot. So in my head all day, I kept saying, I'm like, what just happened?
So you pushed him away and managed to stop that from happening.
It had already happened, but I was able to push him to get him off me completely.
You woke up to him assaulting you.
Correct.
So you wake up to that, push him off you. He makes this really strange joke.
Yeah, and then the next day, him and our soldier were supposed to do something that day. So he didn't know what happened. Because like normally they always come to my room before they go anywhere, because usually I'll go with. But this was the following day, he had knocked on my door and he like gave me a hug and he was like, you know, it wasn't your fault. And that's when like, after that, I started having dreams and I was remembering what happened. And then I had to be 20. So whoever was 21, I was just like, okay, go give me a bottle of this. Go give me a bottle of this. Go give me a bottle of this. So when it came out, my friends were like, what's going on with you? You're not the same. Like, so I said something and she was like, I think you need to go to brigade and Sark and tell them what happened. I was like, they're not going to believe me. It's been too long. I never had a rape kit. It's my word against his.
The entire incident came out almost by accident as Raven was being chaptered out of the Army over a different matter.
My orders read back to me to see what type of discharge I would get and everything. And I was signing. And at the very end, they ask you, have you been sexually assaulted in the past 24 months? I circled yes. My commander looked at the paperwork and he said, has it been reported? And I said, no. So from there, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go report it now. And then I did. A week later, I'm being arrested. And I was like, wow, I'm the victim. I never wanted to say anything in the first place. And look what happened. So I felt like that was kind of like a scare tactic in a way to get me not to say anything. So that made me more furious because I'm like, I grew up in the roughest neighborhood probably in America. So if I didn't get arrested there, why would I wait to join the Army to get arrested here as an adult?
Raven says that after the MPs took her down to jail and placed her in her holding cell, she found out that her alleged rapist's wife had made a false report about Raven threatening her.
She said I threatened her while she was pregnant, which I never did. The very last time she said anything to me, she didn't even say it directly to me. She said it to another female that we worked with who was also pregnant. And she told her, oh, if I wasn't pregnant, I would drag her around the dining facility.
At this point, Raven was given an order of protection against the man who sexually assaulted her, as well as his wife, and she was moved to another base while the court-martial proceedings began.
He was administratively separated due to a court-martial, in lieu of a court-martial, without my presence being there. All they had was my testimony, because at the time, I couldn't say what happened without crying or having an anxiety attack. So my health was a big factor at the time when the case first opened. I just found out last month all like new information. And this is a very old thing. And I told him, I'm like, well, if this was the case, how come for example, I was never informed when he was kicked out. I was informed once my very first lawyer was PCSing. And I was like, well, when did he get kicked out? I've been going all over the world and no one said anything.
Raven continues to struggle with her experience. She has trouble sleeping. She has moments where she doesn't feel safe around white men because of the attack on her. However, things have gotten better for her, and she intends to stay in the Army and become a nurse. As a final point, Raven has something she wants to say about how the Army currently handles sexual assault cases.
They preach sharp so much, but you don't encourage anyone to tell at all. And then when they do, they get victim shamed and victim blamed. Like I know several friends I've had who got out of the military because of their response to it. To this day, she still suffers from a lot of stuff, and her husband is active duty. So it's harder to go from being a active duty soldier to being a victim to feeling comfortable and going through the process of having an investigation and basically that person getting a slap on the wrist. That is a slap in the face. That is a complete slap in the face. But you keep people in the military like that. because that person is now a sergeant and has a daughter and is married to one of my old soldiers. And I was just like, that's crazy, because they look more so of like, oh, he was a good soldier, we're just going to do this. A company grade Article 15 doesn't do shit to someone that's demented. Because you're basically telling them, oh, it's okay. Continue to do what you did.
Sexual assault and harassment isn't just something that happens to women. In this episode, we've almost exclusively tied those issues to women. But the fact is that it does happen to men as well. The 2019 DoD annual report on sexual assault in the military states that focus group data revealed that first responders perceived an increase in male victim reporting. They also believed men's sexual assault cases are taken more seriously now than in the years past. Participants indicated male service members tend to delay reporting their experience and choose the restricted reporting option. First responders thought that men may be grappling with how others might view their masculinity, sexuality, and identity as victims. The fact is we have a serious problem that doesn't seem to be going away. In fact, it might be getting worse. Reforms such as the I Am Vanessa Guillen bill could lead to some serious changes, but not to sound like a cliche, but the change really starts at the individual. It starts with us. Each of us has to look out for one another and encourage those who have been victimized to come forward and report. We also need to be clear that tomorrow's reform is being written by yesterday's victims. We're already too late for them, but we might just get it done in the nick of time for someone else. This episode was written and produced by Jack Murphy and Rod Rodriguez. Additional editing and sound design by Clear Combo Studios. Executive produced by Joe Fleming. Make a plan to do away with high-interest credit card debt by transferring your balance to a Navy Federal Credit Union credit card. With a low intro APR and no balance transfer fees, you can pick the right card to help you take back control. Visit NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Leave us a review and a 5-star rating on whatever podcast player you use. Those reviews really do help us reach a new audience. And be sure to share this podcast. We grow through word of mouth. You can find Military Matters everywhere you listen to podcasts, or go to stripes.com and click on the podcast tab. We're always free to listen to. Use promo code podcast and save 50% on your digital subscription to Stars and Stripes. You can follow us on Twitter. Jack Murphy is at JackMurphyRGR, and Rod Rodriguez is at RodPodRod. I'm Rod Rodriguez.
I'm Jack Murphy.
We'll see you at the next episode.